Hi, this is the Professional Amateur coming to you with another review. This week I finished the first season of Andor, and this 2022 film was created by Tony Gilroy and stars Diego Luna, Genevieve O'Reilly, and Stellan Skarsgård, among others of course. The story of this show takes place in the Star Wars universe, and it follows the character Andor, who was actually in the Rogue One movie, if you've seen that one. So this is kind of his backstory. And this season has kind of two story arcs. One is like this really exciting heist from an Imperial base, and they're stealing all their money and that type of stuff. And that's super exciting. And then the second storyline is like this escape plot type of thing. And that is exciting as well. So there are other kind of side stories as well. One about the funding for the rebellion, and then one features kind of the fascist elements of the Empire and how, they're just there to like beat people down and that type of stuff. And so there is quite a few storylines in this season. Alright, so let's discuss this movie. I wasn't going to do a review for it, but Leo said, hey, you watched it, why not give it a try? And so yeah, here I am. If you kind of heard my little story, synopsis there, you probably got some of the elements that I did enjoy. This heist storyline is just so exciting, and it really does, it starts slow and then builds up and builds up and builds up, and you get time to work with the characters and understand the characters and why they want to fight the Empire. And so it gives lots of kind of motivation. And then when they actually do the heist, it's so exciting. And that definitely worked. I think it ends at episode 6. So if you watch up until then, I think that's great. And that definitely works. I also did enjoy kind of the fascist empire storyline as well, just to see kind of how they really do, want to just keep people down and just, do everything. Everybody's a number and that type of stuff. And yeah, that all works for me. I know a lot of people on the internet probably like to analyze this stuff. I've seen lots of videos about kind of the subtext of each character and how their understanding changes throughout the whole season and that type of stuff. So all of that is in there. The main character himself, I think I liked him. I don't really know. Sometimes I was like, oh, you're just like a goof who just wants to run away, a coward. But then, he does step up at some other times, but then runs away again. And then you're just like, oh, like, who is this character? And so there's definitely story elements like that. And even like the fascist character, like I've heard people like talk about how, she's like a woman in like a man's world and, has to stand up for herself. But then, she's really just a fascist in a fascist world. So that, kind of changed your opinion of her overall. And yeah, just kind of lots of different story elements that, are there for you to enjoy. Other than that, I did enjoy all of the costumes. I thought they were quite well put together. Not all of them are, super fancy, but I did enjoy what they did. I enjoyed all the sets. It's a lot of kind of like interior, just white walls, and then, they have a forest element and that type of stuff. And all of that works. The CGI, there's not actually a lot of CGI in this one, if you can believe it. They have, no big space battles, no lightsaber battles, nothing like that. But the CGI they do have is, very well put together. And with that being said, it is kind of a much more low budget than you're used to. The Mandalorian, Boba Fett, whatever. Even the movies, but of course the movies are going to be quite a high budget. And so this one does show its budget being much more kind of grounded, dirtier, grittier, and much more smaller story as well. So if you are, kind of tired by the big, expensive explosions, space battles, that type of stuff, and you want something a little bit more chill and slow and relaxed, this might be for you. And that brings me to what doesn't work with this show. Well, I know a lot of people like it, but with this one, I think the biggest kind of turnoff for me was it's a prequel to a prequel film for one of the original films. So Rogue One talks about how they got the plans for the Death Star to, explode it. This one is a prequel to that. And I'm just like, why would I want to know about this? And the character was never that interesting. I thought there were other interesting characters in that movie, Rogue One. And so following this guy, I was just like, are you sure you want to do that? It's not very interesting guy, but yeah, I don't think it's necessarily needed that way. It kind of just seems like a product that they are, putting out. Of course, they have a lower budget, so they do different things. So it does have a uniqueness to it, but at the same time, it's just why would I need to have this element of Star Wars story filled out? Like, that made no sense to me. They could have easily have done it some other way, but as it stands, it is what it is. So you have to think about how much you want to know about the Star Wars universe before you press play on this one. Other than that, it's not very flashy. They do have a few laser battles, but, no Jedi, no big space battles, this type of stuff. So it is kind of a much more down-to-earth story, but at the same time, if you've, come to expect a certain quality from your Star Wars shows, again, like, I really did enjoy The Mandalorian and Boba Fett, but they were much more brighter in this one. Just kind of seems dull compared to those ones. What else can I say? Oh, I did see in this one they have like an AK-47. I kind of pictured it up here, but it's like an exact replica of one that you would see in our world. And so I was getting pretty excited to see them, fire bullets in the Star Wars universe for the first time. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so cool. They're just going to spray and pray some bullets. But no, it's actually a laser AK-47, if you can believe it. It shoots lasers. If I can find it, I'll clip it in here for you. So that was something that I kind of noticed. I'm not sure if anyone else did. I've never heard anyone talk about it, but yeah, laser AK-47s. I cannot believe it. So who would I recommend this show for? Well, of course, if you're a Star Wars fan, probably try to check it out. It might fill in some things for you. Plus, you probably just love being in the Star Wars universe. It's definitely a different take, much more kind of dirty and gritty take on it. And with that being said, it doesn't really feel that much like Star Wars. It certainly has Star Wars elements in it, but doesn't really feel like a true Star Wars kind of production. And so if you're not a Star Wars fan and you want to commit the time to it, then yeah, totally check it out as well. As for a rating, I have to give it the average score of 5. And with that being said, I think that's all I wanted to say. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.